Child Protective Services agencies often utilize the assistance of their own specialized case consultants. These consultants provide expert opinions, gather background information, ask questions, and offer recommendations or referrals for services. They do not meet with the family. These consultants were initially put in place to provide expert opinions in order to obtain background information and in response to lawsuits alleging CPS investigators and supervisors lack expertise on certain issues they may encounter in the course of an investigation. In theory, this is designed to ensure an individual with relevant credentials is advising the CPS investigator on how to proceed, rather than the CPS investigator making such determinations alone. In practice, it's just to make sure advice is coming from someone credentialed and to say CPS did anything, to address a potential concern. Let's explore the different types of consultants and their roles in more detail. Investigative consultants. Typically former law enforcement officers, these consultants provide CPS with legal information CPS might not otherwise have access to. They perform background checks on each household member, track down individuals, and gather data that CPS uses to make determinations about child safety. This information can include names, current and previous contact information, criminal history, domestic incident reports, home address history, and more. They often have access to confidential local, state, and national databases, also utilized by law enforcement in order to obtain, compile, and provide this information to the CPS investigator. This information is also typically maintained in the case record. Medical consultants. Typically licensed nurse practitioners or pediatricians, medical consultants are brought in when a medical condition or medical concern of any household member is documented. They educate the CPS investigator on the condition, advise on relevant questions to ask, and provide recommendations for supports or services to pass on to the family. Mental health consultants. These are usually licensed clinical psychologists, clinical social workers, or mental health counselors. They are consulted when a mental health condition or mental health concern of any household member is documented. They may recommend various forms of psychotherapy, psychiatric treatment, or supportive case management for the CPS investigator to pass on to the family. Mental health consultants can be further specialized into early childhood, adolescent, and adult subspecialties. Domestic violence consultants consulted in cases where domestic violence is alleged, suspected, or there are domestic incident reports identified in a background check of the household members. These consultants provide recommendations for counseling, mediation, and education for the CPS investigator to pass on to the family. They also advise on visitation, if applicable. Their input can significantly influence the course of the investigation. Substance abuse consultants. These specialists, typically licensed substance abuse counselors themselves, are consulted in cases involving alleged or confirmed substance use or abuse or history of substance use or abuse, including illicit drugs and misuse of prescription or over-the-counter medications. They often recommend inpatient or outpatient substance abuse counseling or other related treatments for the CPS investigator to pass on to the family. While these consultants rarely, if ever, interact with the family in question, these specialized consultants may also provide expert testimony in court, which can significantly impact the outcome of a case. Their credentials and affiliation with the CPS agency often lend credibility to their testimony in the eyes of the judge, potentially putting families at a disadvantage. Knowing the information CPS already has can help you prepare, reduce case consultant involvement, and allow you to get ahead of CPS to minimize case duration and intrusion. At CPS Protect Consulting Services, we recommend taking proactive steps to protect your family. If you have a criminal history, any domestic incident reports, or have any welfare benefits, assume CPS is already aware and plan accordingly. While we don't advise mentioning any information on partner conflict, medical conditions, or mental health conditions, this or providing documentation to CPS yourself unprompted, try to get ahead of what CPS may request in response to this information and prepare to respond if it is brought up. This should minimize the involvement of these case consultants and therefore reduce the time and intrusion of a CPS case. Disclose this information to your child welfare consultant at CPS Protect Consulting Services and your family law attorney to ensure you're ready for anything CPS could throw at you. Just because you're a good parent doesn't mean CPS will see it the same way. If you think CPS won't show up at your door, consider this. More than 1 in 3 children in the United States will face CPS involvement before reaching age 18. Don't wait until CPS is already at your door. Don't wait until they're asking questions. Don't wait until they place your child in foster care. Don't wait until they terminate your parental rights. Nothing is more important than your family. Ensure they're protected better than your life insurance policy ever could. At CPS Protect Consulting Services, we can help with that. It's never too early to prepare. Make sure you're ready and have the right team in place every step of the way. To learn more about how you can preserve your rights and protect your family, visit cpsprotect.com or call toll-free at 844-633-KIDS. CPS Protect Consulting Services, saving children, preserving families.